There we go. We are recording. So I will now do the introduction and just cut this bit off. It's just the starting. The starting bit's awkward. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second client case study that I have done. You may have seen in the past, I did one with my client Louise, and I have come back to do one with another client of mine who has been with me since the start of January, I believe, with my Transform Challenge. So I would like to introduce you all to Emma. Hello, Emma. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Yes, I'm very good, thank you. How's your day been?
Yeah, not too bad. Glad the weather's held out. Managed to get some washing done and put it out on the line, so that's not been too bad.
Yeah, perfect. All right, so I'm going to get straight into it, basically. And all I wanted to ask you first is, before you kind of started with myself and joined Team T3, what was your background with regards to kind of exercise, health, fitness, all that kind of stuff? What's your path been so far?
It's been an interesting one, to be fair. So I was a member of a very well-known weight loss group for a number of years, lot of years, and really that was it. There was never really any sort of exercise or anything involved apart from the odd bit of dancing I do here and there from theatre and stuff like that, but I never really had an exercise regime. So really my main focus was on food and my relationship with food and weight loss. That was my focus, and it just got to a point where it just wasn't working for me. I felt like I knew the program like the back of my hand, so I didn't really always need to refer back to the books and the recipes and the group stuff and all that kind of thing, because I just felt like I knew it all, but nothing was happening. If anything, I was just gaining more and more weight, and I just had really unhealthy relationship with everything, really. So for me, it was sort of last year was a bit of a turning point. My husband and I got married last year, which was great. And, we were so lucky to get married just before sort of the first lockdown hit. And then after that, things just took a bit of a turn. There was a lot of things that were going on sort of in our life. And, without even realising, I gained a stone. And I just didn't really know where to go with it. So obviously when you posted about doing your Transform Challenge, I thought, well, I'll give it a go. I've been to my doctors. I've sort of said to them, look, I'm really struggling to lose weight. I can't seem to do anything. And they kept referring me to different, dietitians and, slimming groups and things like that. And so I thought, if I do your Transform Challenge for 7 weeks, and, if nothing happens at the end of those 7 weeks, I can go to my GP and go, right, okay, look, this is what's happened. I've done 7 weeks of this plan, this whatever, and this is what's happened. And that's sort of where I was really when I joined T3.
Yeah. Okay, lovely. And so obviously you mentioned the transformation challenge. That was the very first one I did, wasn't it? So early January. So talking about that kind of 7 week period, obviously within 7 weeks, we're not going to go from wherever our point A is to point Z, wherever we want to end up. But kind of, how did you find your progress over that 7 weeks? What kind of what progress did you see? Were there elements that maybe you kind of didn't really think of beforehand, or anything that you kind of maybe thought you'd see more progress in but didn't?
Yeah, so it's a funny one, really. Again, because I've been part of these different sort of slimming groups, it was a case of getting weighed every single week. But I got to that point where, because I was working from home as well, I had really nothing else to focus on. So I found myself jumping on the scales sort of every day or every other day. So when I started the challenge, it was really hard for me not to weigh myself, not to get on the scales every day and just do it sort of, as we did our sort of fortnightly progress checks and things. It was really hard for me to sort of beat that habit. But then I realised over those sort of 7 weeks, other ways to track, your progress, and it's not just about the scales. So people don't believe me when I say it, that, you know, the fact that over those 7 weeks, really, I didn't lose anything. I lost, I gained, I lost, you know, it moved about. But the difference in my progress photos, the difference in my inches, you know, things like that, all those different things, the way that I ate, you know, I ate differently, the things that I ate, and the way that I sort of, and say my relationship with food changed. So I kind of almost ditched the scales a little bit, which I never thought I would do. I always thought that that would just be my way of, well, I've got to get on the scales and I've got to get weighed. And actually, right up until now, I sometimes forget when I'm doing my progress check now, I forget to get on that. Oh, I need to go get weighed, right? I'll get on the scales and that. And I never ever thought I'd get to that point. So yeah, I think it's really important to know that there's different ways to track your progress. It's not just all about the scales.
No, you make a really good point. And I'm just curious, actually, like, how did that make you feel, that kind of realization and that change and shift in mindset? Like, how did that make you feel with regards to your progress?
It was a massive confidence boost. It was something that I'd never noticed before. So I'm very much I've always been one of those people. I look in the mirror and I get ready and I think whatever, and then I see myself in like a photo or a video and I go, that's not me. I see something completely different. So again, when I was doing the progress photos, I was like, oh God, I hate this. I don't want to take this photo. I don't want to do. But actually now, you know, sort of every 2 weeks when we do the progress photos, I put them together and I do like a collage, and I look at I'll do a comparison from beginning of January when I first started. I'll do a comparison, you know, probably sort of say from 4 or 5 weeks ago, just to see what the difference is, and constantly sort of look at those changes, because there's always something different to look at as well. When you're looking at those progress photos. So that for me is a massive confidence boost in itself.
No, I think it's a really good point. And a lot of people do focus quite a lot on just the weighing scales. And as you said, during that 7 weeks, in general, didn't lose, because sometimes it went up, sometimes it came down. And that can be really disheartening for people if they don't have these alternative methods of being able to measure progress and see the results they're getting. There was one other that I can remember, that I remember you saying was a big win from the challenge. Can you remember what it was? Completely unrelated to measurements or progress photos or anything. Can you remember what it was?
No, you're gonna have to remind me. Go on.
All right. So I just pressed the wrong button. I'm pressing the wrong button. Sorry. I will cut this bit out. So I believe you mentioned to me about cleaning. It was cleaning the house, going up and down, because in particular you had a bit of knee pain, wasn't it? So fairly chronic knee pain. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah. So knee and lower back pain. So yeah, cleaning the house was an absolute feat in itself, because you know, after so long I'd have to sit down and rest, and I found that I was able to get the cleaning done and not have to sit down. So that definitely was a big win.
Because I think things like that as well, that they are things that people don't think about when it comes to seeing any sort of progress. And yes, there were. So I think we put a knee strengthening routine in there as an extra, just to help with the knees. But things like being able to kind of go up and down the stairs, go on a walk, and just feeling more energetic or feeling less out of breath, things like that, people don't necessarily think about until it happens. So I just remember you telling me, and just seeing all these different little bits of progress that just kind of all compound together, which is really good.
I think people don't realize, like you say though, people don't realize that there's so many other ways of measuring your progress. So little things like, I know, you know, really recently we set a goal, because I'm not working at the minute, we set a goal for me to sort of get up at a certain time in the morning. So that was getting myself into a routine. And the difference in my energy levels for the day when I'm doing that, when I'm getting up in the morning, and you know, and I'm setting my alarm, I wake up, then I give myself like half an hour to sit in bed, go on my phone, do whatever. to then get up, but then my energy levels throughout the day are just completely different. The other day when I said to you, me and my husband were playing Monopoly, and I managed to sit on the floor in the same position for 2 hours. That never happens. Like normally I'd have to like lie down, sit up, sit whatever. But I didn't, just sat there, played a game of Monopoly, and then my knees were a bit stiff when I got up. But it was just but that's something that I've never been able to do before. So it's all those different things that you can measure. It's crazy how different it can be.
Yeah. No, that's really good. And I'm sure I said to you actually in the message, I could not do that. I could not sit in one position on the floor for 2 hours. Not a chance. So you've got me beat on that one. So just wanted to kind of progress a little bit further, just to talk about kind of wins, which we have talked about with regards to Transformation Challenge, but also I'd like to cover a little bit more since then. But before that, and again, we've mentioned a couple already, but since starting with me, both on the Transformation Challenge at the very start and on the individual or personalized online one-to-one, what obstacles have you faced with regards to your health and fitness, and kind of how have you overcome them?
So I think the big one for me, so I was lucky that I was working from home when I started the challenge. So I had a routine, so I could do my workouts, whether it was first thing in the morning before I started work or on my lunch break. There was times in the day where I could get my routines done, and I knew that that's what I needed to do. And then at the end of June, I was made redundant. So since then, I've really struggled with routine in general. So then, sort of having the energy and to do my workouts has kind of gone a little bit, because like I said, up until a few weeks ago, my routine was just completely shot. I was getting out of bed some days at not until 11 o'clock. Some days I was up at 6:30. Like there was just nothing. So trying to sort of give myself something to work towards or to look forward to, because there was nothing. Like I felt I was in a really tough place. But again, it was like you say, these progress checks that we do every fortnight are great for me, because it's almost like a little mini kick up the bum for me, because there'll be times where I go, right, do you know what, I've missed a workout, or I've missed 2, or I've had a bit of a crappy week. But then as soon as I do my progress check and I answer those questions, I go, right, give your head a shake. What do you need to do? Let's get on with it. Like, set yourself. And that's what we've done over the last few weeks. We've set sort of these mini goals, and, they've really started to help. So like I say, setting, getting up at a certain time in the morning helps, because as soon as I get out of bed, I just put my workout gear on.
Yeah.
So then I'll have a breakfast, I'll have my coffee, I'll have a water or whatever. I'll do a few things around the house. I might even watch a program on TV, but then as soon as I've done that, I can then get my workout done, because I'm already wearing the clothes, so do it, so it's that sort of thing. And always making sure I've got something to work towards as well. So again, I've got a couple of things coming up where I want to be ready for them, and I want to be, for me, I want to be fit enough for me. So, there's been a lot of years where, I've been overweight, but then I've not done anything about it. So I've been overweight, I've been unhealthy, I've not had any sort of exercise routines in place. So then, for instance, when I've done theatre shows, I said to you the other day, didn't I? I was like, I think I'm the only person that sweats on stage in January, because I'm just so unfit, or have been so unfit. So there's just little things that I've got to work towards. So I just keep thinking to myself, when I do my workouts, I'm like, this is doing something. This is what this is helping towards something. Yeah. So that's kind of where I've had to set my mentality to, especially over the last few weeks.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. I kind of actually want to touch a little bit on the exercise bit. Seeing as you brought it up, it wasn't a planned question, but something I am curious to get your viewpoint on, and I think a lot of people would, because anyone who's followed me on social media for a while knows that my style of training kind of is derived from CrossFit. And if people aren't familiar with CrossFit in general, it's high intensity kind of intervals or mixed modal. So taking like cardio elements such as burpees or anything like that everyone hates, mixing it with like weightlifting elements, i.e. using dumbbells or anything like that. And there is a bit of a kind of prejudice, I don't know if prejudice is the right word, but a bit of a prejudice, we're going with it, that this sort of training is only for people who are already fit enough to do it. And I was just, because you mentioned that you hadn't done a lot of exercise before and you did kind of go straight into my style of training, i.e. this high intensity mixed modal functional style. I was just curious to get your thoughts on like how you found that, and obviously coming from that background of, as you say, not being fit, like how did you find it all?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard work. It is hard work, but there's good things about it in that overall, I know afterwards, I know once I finished, I know I've done a workout.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that everyone has to do the same workout, as in, so I know when I first started, there was no way I could do burpees. There was no way that because I knew I didn't have the body strength to do it. So we sort of simplified it, and there was a simplified version of burpees that we could do. And so that's what I started with. And over my time, I've sort of built up. I'm still not doing full burpees because I can't, but I'm not doing the really simplified version that I started doing at the beginning of January.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that the workouts are only about, 20, 25 minutes, sometimes half an hour, depending on how I'm feeling, long. But that's the good thing about it, is because, you just say, rather than, because I've done it before as well, when I've tried to work out, I've tried to do something, I've gone to the gym and just said to myself, if I'm not here for an hour, at least an hour, then I've not done a workout.
Yeah.
I've gone into it, and I've gone with friends who do regularly work out, and they've done 45 minutes to an hour in the gym. And that's fine. I'll do whatever they tell me to do and whatever. But I just realized that that's not right, or that's not right for me. Let's say, like, that's not. Whereas what I've enjoyed about this is the fact that, we're doing 3 workouts a week. Like I say, no longer than half an hour. But you've done a workout. I'm still sweating at the end of it. I still, I've burnt calories, and I'm an Android girl, so I've done heart points, but yeah, so it's just knowing that, even though, and obviously they're really varied as well, the workouts. Some of them obviously I find harder than others, like stair climbs. Just don't even think me after having a stair climb, like, just don't. But there are certain things that it's weird. There are certain things that I enjoy more than other people do.
Yeah.
But I think that's because my strength in my body sits in sort of different places. So, things like wall sits, not a problem. Stick me on a wall sit, and I'm happy to, I'm happy to do a wall sit, right? I know, and people think that's really weird. Planks. I'm all right with planks. Like, when you've put planks in workouts before, I'm all right with that. Like, stuff like that doesn't bother me. But yeah, there are certain things that, that I do struggle with, but that's fine, because like I said before, we can either reduce the reps if we need to, or we can simplify the move a little bit, so there's so many different options with it. That's why it works.
Yeah, no, that's good, because I think it does say a lot for the fact that whilst this style is hard work, like you say, you went out the bat and said it is hard work, but it can be effective in such a short time frame, and doing 3 a week at 30 minutes, that's, in the grand scheme of things, nothing in terms of time. But you can get results if you put the effort in within that 30 minutes and obviously do everything around it, which kind of segues quite nicely, because we've talked a fair bit about exercise, and I know in kind of that opening question you talked about the weight loss group that you've been a part of, but talk to me a little bit about how your relationship with food and how you see nutrition has changed since we've been working together.
The main thing for me is not I don't know how to put it, is not sort of almost putting food into groups. So, you know, we know this particular weight loss group that I was a part of have a particular word for, you know, sort of high calorie, high sugar foods, let's say.
Yeah.
And that was always a big thing for me. That always was stuck, you know, was stuck in my head. That was a word that constantly, you know, I use for everything. But once I started using MyFitnessPal to record my calories and things, it was knowing that, you know, if you get to the end of the day and, you know, you've got some calories left, you can get a chocolate bar from the cupboard or a packet of crisps or whatever, as long as it's within your calories, and it's not, that's not going to hinder your weight loss at the end of the day. You know, if I was using all my calories on crisps, then you'd be like, oh well. But at the same time, you know, but it's just, it's about knowing your limits and knowing what you can have. Like, again, for me, last year, when I was working from home, sort of up until December time, I was probably drinking every single night. Like, to be really honest, you know, I'd be having maybe a glass of wine or two or a beer or whatever. But I got into the habit because I was like, well, I don't actually have to go out and do anything tomorrow morning, so I can have a drink and it's fine. And sort of when I started sort of looking at my calories, I was like, but you could use those calories from the alcohol on so much, you know, other things, better things, and, you know, be fuller for longer, and not just think. And then obviously when you start drinking, then you start thinking about the bad things, you know, like kebabs and things like that. So, you know, it's a win-win. But again, the thing for me is that especially in the last, especially like I say, with not having a routine over the last couple of months, I've been trying to eat little and often.
Yeah.
So before, I was very much, I focused on, you know, my 3 big meals a day, and then might be able to have 1 or 2 snacks during the day. You know, that was how it worked prior. Now, since I've been working with you, you know, it's looking at it and going, well, you know, you sort of, your food during the, doesn't have to be that like set. Doesn't have to be your 3 meals a day and then your snacks in between. You don't have to do that. So for me now, I've been trying to, like I say, I've been trying to eat little and often. I've introduced a hell of a lot more water into my diet than I ever drank before. Obviously in May we did the water challenge in May. So obviously trying to up my intake, because even though I was drinking more, I still wasn't drinking enough, in my opinion. So we did the water challenge in May just to get into the habit and obviously start drinking. So and with that, you know, then I found that I don't necessarily need to drink on a night. I was drinking out of boredom more than anything. Let's be honest, like that's what it was. But now, like the other week, without even thinking about it, I didn't drink until like so I'd actually gone from like the Sunday to the Saturday without a drink. And that makes me sound like an alcoholic. I'm really not. But it was just, I realised that I didn't need it and had other things to focus on. So I think it coincided when we started with the routines, with me getting up earlier.
Yeah.
Because then, of course, I was getting up earlier. I said to myself I was going to tidy one room, sort out one room in the house a day, go around and, you know, whatever. And because I had something to focus on during the day, then once it came to the evening, I just sat out, chilled out, watched a bit of TV, went to bed.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I needed to do anything because I wasn't bored, because I hadn't been bored.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that was a big change for me the other week. So I've stuck with that, even though I've not necessarily had stuff to keep me occupied because I did my house all in 1 week. At least I know that I get that mentality now as well. So it's just knowing all of that. Yeah.
You know, that's really good. And I kind of, again, just segue a little bit off something you said, but you mentioned the water challenge that we did that obviously aimed at increasing your water intake. Now, for people who aren't part of T3, I deliver my service on a service on an app called True Coach, which is where I deliver the progress checks, the workouts and stuff. And I created a habit tracking one, number of different areas, but for Emma, we went with tracking water intake. And I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on how tracking something like that makes you aware of it. So did you find that as soon as you had this thing that you had to input at the end of the day, did that help you kind of increase your intake and get you to where you wanted it to be?
Yeah, and it was funny actually, because at first, like I say, I knew I wasn't drinking enough water, but I was drinking some water. But then once I was putting it into the habit tracker, I was looking and going, well, that's not enough. I think I'm drinking, because I've got one of those sort of 900ml water bottles.
Yeah.
You know, have one of those, and I'd be like, and I'm like, all right, okay. But then realised throughout the day, I'd only got 3/4 of the way down.
Yeah.
And I was looking, going, so even though I filled up a 900ml bottle, I've not drank that full 900ml.
Right. Okay.
So it was looking at it and going, right, that needs to change. So I bought one of those ones that that's got the times on it.
Okay.
You know, so
yeah.
it sort of tells you as you go down. It's sort of like it counts down, and then you fill it back up and you do the afternoon. But yeah, the other thing as well with the habit tracking was, because I'd sort of set myself a goal and sort of said to myself, I want to be doing this on average. I want to be drinking, you know, this much water a day. If I wasn't seeing that number at the end of the day, then I was like, right, what can I do to increase it? But then not obviously, you know, make myself have to get up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that. But it was just that, all right, so have a pint of water before bed, and then at least you've had, you know, a little bit more water, or you've done something. And then on the flip side of it, introducing it in the morning. So when I'm coming down and making my coffee, while I'm waiting for my coffee, just have a pint of water.
Yeah.
Pint of water done, out the way. And then I knew by that point, when I was doing the habit tracking, that I'd already set myself up for the day.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. Yeah, it's really good. I just wanted to get your kind of thoughts on it, because a lot of times people don't necessarily realize when they want to improve what they're eating, when they want to do more exercise, when they want to increase their water intake, that simply just putting something in place where you have to track it and you start measuring it, then you start seeing that progress. And like you say, you come up with little ways of making it easier for yourself, like having a pint of water as you wait for your coffee, because then you know, okay, just over 500 mils of your target's already gone. It's fairly easy to fit the rest of it within the day. So yeah, a little segue, but very useful. So obviously in terms of main questions, we talked about obstacles. Kind of want to go more positive now. So talk to me, there's no set number, but talk to me about your biggest wins since you started in Team T3.
My biggest wins, I think probably my stamina in general. So things like I went to Scarborough a couple of weekends ago, and my parents know that I'm not a fan of walking, but I just find it really difficult. Like I've always found it really difficult. And just being able to go on walks with my parents and my husband, and not be the one lagging behind or moaning that I'm tired or I'm in pain, just being able to actually go on walks. And my dad knows me very well, as much as like I like to admit that he doesn't, he does. And so we were going on these walks in Scarborough, and he just kept pushing it that little bit more. Like he was like, oh, let's just go around this way and go up this way. And I'd be like, oh, okay, fine. But I did it, you know, because he knows that but I can push myself that little bit more. I think just in general, and it's stuff I know that we've talked about, it's the whole discomfort thing.
Yeah.
So you're not in pain, you know, you're not struggling, it's just a little bit of discomfort. So if you're having to walk up a hill, we'll eventually get to the top of that hill, so you'll just be in a little bit of discomfort going up the hill, but then once you get up there, you get your breath back, you're fine. That, you know, and that's done. And it's that mindset, and that's a big thing. I think that's one of my biggest wins, is the way my mindset's changed. Like we've talked about, I don't weigh myself on the scales anymore. You know, my progress photos for me are enough. you know, the difference that I've seen in those. I posted fairly recently about the fact that I've gone down a couple of clothes sizes in my favourite shop. You know, walking in there and just picking up the usual size that I get, going into the fitting room, trying everything on, and it being too big. Like, even my mum didn't believe. My mum was stood outside the fitting room, and I was like, no, seriously, and everything was way too big. So going back out, and my dad and my husband was sat outside, and I was like, oh, I'm really sorry. I was like, just going to be a little bit longer because everything I've picked up is too big for me. So I'm just going to go back and try on the smaller size. Like, but it's in, you know, the compliments that I'm getting from people as well. You know, people have noticed, like, somebody said to me really randomly the day, she was like, oh, I can't believe how toned your arms are now. I was like, that's a really weird thing to say to somebody like anything. But she's right. If you look at when I put those progress photos side to side, you know, the difference in my arms now to where they were at the beginning of January, you know, is massive for me. Like, seeing those little changes. Like, I've even done a little collage of how my face has changed since January. Like, I've got a little photo collage of all the different, like, I've zoomed in my progress photos. But yeah, so my biggest win is definitely my mindset, the way that's changed on everything. Obviously, you know, all that sort of, like I said, that sort of littles down, you know, into the walks and into the clothes sizes and stuff like that. But, and I think sticking with it as well, like this, you know, I have never stuck at anything as long as I've stuck with you. I'll be really honest. Like, before, I've never ever. I've got to a point, like I say, when I've been to the gym with friends before, you know, and I've gone, right, yeah, this is what I'm going to do, and then 2 weeks after, I'm making excuses not to go. You know, it's always been like that. You know, like I say, you know, I did your transformation challenge at the beginning of January, and then moved into T3, and I've been there since. But I've also said that, you know, and I think for me to sort of turn around and go, you know, I'm not giving this up. I'm sticking at this, like, which is something that I've never ever done before. So that, again, is a massive win for me.
Yeah, and I think that consistency with that attitude, that just makes it kind of makes it so much easier for you to see that progress, because obviously a lot of people do experience it where they do something new and they want to see results fairly quickly, or they don't necessarily kind of understand the results they're getting, and then it gets disheartening, so they stop. And because there's no consistency with it, and I'm sure you'll agree, there have been weeks within our time together where it hasn't, because things get in the way, it hasn't been as consistent. But in the grand scheme of things, rather than looking at that week in isolation and saying, okay, this is a shit week, basically, we're looking at this is 1 week out of however many we've had from January until now, and 80% or more of the time we're doing what we need to be doing. And then that 20% just means that you can have that week where, okay, it's not exactly where you want it to be, but at least it's not affecting progress, which is really, really good. So I have kind of one final question. It's a fairly short one as well. As you say, you started on the transformation challenge, you moved into T3. What is your favorite part about being in Team T3?
Lots of things. I think having the Facebook support group, so having the team on there, because I am big on social media, so having somewhere safe to vent, or to have, you know, if you're having a bad day or a bad week, having that place to vent is a big thing for me. And I just think it's hard. It's like everything overall, you know, the program, the workouts, the way that everything's done. If I say to you, you know, right, this week I need you to just kick me up the butt, like, you know, give me, you know, a couple of days where you just go, you've not done your workout, what are you playing at? And I'm like, I'm sorry, Adam. You know, it's all of that role, you know, all of it just works, and I just love being part of Team 3. I really do. And he's not paid me to say that. Part of Team 3.
Yes, there have been no payments behind the scenes to say anything. No rehearsals, nothing like that. But in general, I think that's all the questions I have. Do you have anything you want to add to anything, or are you all good?
No, I think like I would say to anyone that is thinking about, or that like me has been stuck in the same place for years and years with their weight loss, and they're constantly don't really know where to go next. I would absolutely recommend it, because it's been a massive eye opener for me, and see the results that I've seen now just spur me on to keep going. So yeah, I definitely recommend it to anyone.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that little endorsement. I'm definitely going to clip that out and be like, if anyone wants to sign up, just listen to this. All right, well, in that case, that's all the questions I have. Got a good, I think, 35-40 minutes out of this, which is not bad going. So all that's left is for me to say thank you for coming on. I appreciate you giving me some of your time, and yeah, I look forward to carrying on the progress that we've made over these past, what is it, eight or so months.
Yeah.
Still so much more that we can go and achieve. So it's really good, and thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.
Speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.